Welcome to episode 18 of the Nate Hate Show. I have an amazing guest here. He has a couple of notable attributes. For one, he admits to liking child pornography by wearing AC Milan jerseys. Two, no, I'm not going to go into that one. But we kind of have to recap some shit from the Hawaii episode because I didn't give you guys the full story. Because it was kind of weird telling Jake that shit. But with you here, we can kind of go over that, shoot the shit about UFC, and do whatever. Fucking. So you and Rafa, whenever you went to Hawaii, you guys got there like a week before we did, didn't you?
Yeah, we stayed with my family, and we just literally drove around and did crazy shit every single day.
Didn't you guys do some like death-defying stunts on like muddy cliffs and shit?
Oh my god, dude! There was 2 days where we risked our lives so unnecessarily bad. The first day, we went kayaking to this island off the coast of the east side, and normally you can go pretty much any direction to get to this island, but the surf was pretty high that day, so we went the left side, so we went around the back end, and we were supposed to go around the right end because if you go on the right end, the islands block the waves. But we went on the left side, and the waves were so big, dude. It felt like I was surfing. We were literally going down the wave, up the wave. We were having to paddle to the right, but the waves were coming from our left. So every time the waves would come, we'd have to turn the kayak, and then we have to go over the wave and then turn to the right again. And I was in so much fear, dude. I thought I was going to die. And then the next day we went on a ridge that we had no business being on with how rainy and windy it was, but we still did it. And then we ended up turning around and we saw two local dudes going down, and they had spikes on their feet, and they were like, yeah, we turned around. It was too dangerous. So that's when we were like, yeah, we shouldn't be here anymore.
And you were just wearing the fucking Ultra Boost.
No, I had my hiking boots on, but they weren't doing shit, dude. I was slipping and sliding on that mud.
Dude, I always thought that kayaks were just something you would take down a chill river and kind of float on it, or a lake, something light like that. That's insane that you went on the ocean in that shit.
I mean, I've done it before to that exact place, but the waves were just bigger than I've ever seen them. And it was literally the most terrifying experience of my life. And Rafa's never been in the ocean on the kayak, so he didn't even really realize how dangerous it really was. But I was literally, there was a point where a wave, we were getting over the break the majority of the time. The break, as in that white part of the wave that forms, we were getting over it before that. And there was one moment where the break went right before us, and the break hit us and covered the whole kayak. And we got soaking wet. And I was screaming like a girl. I was screaming like a little girl, dude. I was like, ah! And Rob was like, good. We're not good. And I was just thinking in my head, what if that's the first of many? And we're fucked, dude. If we were to fall out of that kayak, the kayak would have gone flying. We would have had our life jackets on, but we would have just been in the middle of the ocean during a storm.
How far was it in between the island and where you guys took off with the kayak?
Probably about a mile and a half. It was a mile and a half.
Could you have swam a mile? Well, how far?
Not in that.
How far in between were you guys? Whenever you realized, oh, we might actually be in serious fucking trouble.
Probably half a mile. So we were majority of the way there, but that's when a storm started coming through as well, in addition to the waves being big. So a storm was coming through and the waves got big. And we were about half a mile, but it felt like it was 10 miles because we had to literally change directions every time a big wave came. We'd have to turn left to go up the wave because you can't take a wave
head on.
On the side. No, you can take a wave on head on. That's what we had to do. If you take it on the side, it'll flip you over. So we had to go up the wave and then down the wave.
What if it would have just flipped? What if it would have flipped and you guys would have had a hold of the kayak? Could you have flipped it back over?
I mean, maybe, but dude, the waves were so strong. Dude, the waves were so big. It was so scary. It's different when you're in the open ocean in big waves because you're just so screwed no matter what.
Yeah, and there's fucking sharks in the water. And that, I mean, that's always my biggest fear when I'm going in the water is just fucking what animals are in there that could fuck me up. When I was in the South, I'm I'm not getting in any random bodies of water because there could be fucking gators in there. But it's a little bit better over here. Hawaii, the cool thing was that whenever you're on the island, in the water, you could just go swim pretty much anywhere and you don't have to be that worried. At fucking Narnia, Narnia, imagine that if that was in Florida. Would you have gotten Narnia Falls?
Absolutely not.
Dude, that shit was
green, bro.
that shit was, dude, that tree, that still bothers me thinking about how deep down that fucking tree was. Dude.
Yeah, dude. And it's that lake was so big. Like, that was a mind-blowing spot.
Like, every single place that we went in Hawaii was fucking beautiful. That one might have taken the cake, though. For me, like, the entire Hawaii trip was just made up by Gabe moments. Like, whenever we went, the first day that we went on that, like, hike thing, well, I guess first day, I showed up, like, the day before, forgot that I showed up early, went drinking at a hotel bar, after I'd thrown up on myself on the plane, and then fucking went to the Airbnb, and then went out again, started drinking a little bit more, and then went back to the Airbnb, passed out. And then the next morning, like 6, you and Rafa came and picked me up because we were waiting for Gabe to get there from the airport. And we went to go get some shit to eat. You guys got the musubis, or what are they called? You guys got the musubis, and I didn't know what the fuck that was, but then I saw you guys get them and you were eating them. I was like, that smells good as fuck. And that put me on forever. I've ate like 10 of those things since I found out that there's that, what's it called? L&L or whatever the fuck.
My mom used to, whenever I go visit my mom in Hawaii when I didn't live with her, she'd bring me like 8.
Was that
like 8, and I eat all of them on the way home from the airport. I came up off those things, dude.
Dude, those are so fucking good. And like, whenever you look at it at first, it's like, oh, seaweed. We get a load of this douchebag. But then you eat one and you're like, holy fuck, that actually hits. Fucking, so moving on from that day, me, you, and Rafa, we went on that fucking, it wasn't that bad of a hike, but we thought we were pulling up at an area where it was going to be like that beachfront. And it ended up being that we took like what do you think that was? Like a 2-3 mile hike up that mountain? Just the first part?
I think it might have been like 2-3 miles round trip. I don't know about like a mile there, but I think we took a wrong turn too. Because remember that those girls that were surfing, they had their boards and they were walking. There's no way those girls were going to walk 3 miles to the beach. I think we just went the wrong way, honestly. Because you remember we wanted to go on top of that little mountain.
Yeah, I thought that felt like it was way longer, dude. Like it felt like it was like a mile to the mountain, and then like we started walking in, and we were like, it would be weird if there was like a trail going all the way towards the beach and it didn't end up on the beach. And then we looked at like the map and we were like, oh no, this isn't the way to go. And we're like, oh well, I guess we'll turn around.
You gotta link some clips of these places on this as well, just so the viewers can see.
Yeah, I know. I did that last time, and I'm gonna throw in some better ones too. Dude, like fucking all those areas were so fucking crazy. Like, all right, so, well, I guess we'll keep on going with that day. Gabe, we got him at like 2, and then we fucking went and did all our grocery shopping because we weren't just going to do the errands and let Gabe get away with doing fucking nothing.
Nah, no way.
Made that nigga Gabe come with us on our excursions. We had the rental car completely packed, like groceries all in our lap, all in the back. There was no way you could see out of the back of the window. And then like we were driving, that's whenever we actually drove across the island to like get to where we were staying, and I realized how fucking massive the Big Island was. Because I was like, oh yeah, the Big Island, whatever. It's probably like a 2-hour drive around the entire thing. That could be like 7 hours all the way around. That was fucking crazy. It was like 2.5 hours probably from Kona to what was that place we were staying in? Sea Mountain Resort?
The place was called, I think, Pahala. That was the place. That's the place you were staying.
Dude.
Yeah, it was like 2.5 hours.
Do you remember whenever those people thought that we were locals after we, I swear, Rafa was like this close to saying, whenever they're like, where are you guys staying? I swear he was about to say Sea Mountain Resort. He says he wasn't, but
they would have been mad.
They would have been.
Oh, no, like these tourists.
They would have been fuming.
Staying in my yard.
Dude, and then imagine if that dude looked out his window and saw us pissing in his yard. Because all of us did that.
In his yard.
It was like, but his house looked like he was abandoned. And I was like, why is this lady like directing us to park here? Like she must know that it's just an abandoned house. And then like we all pissed. There was other cars there. We went down and we were there for like we stayed there for like a while. What was that one called? That was the valley.
Global Valley.
Yeah, that was the fucking Black Sand Valley. And like we went there. This is jumping out of order, but I have to talk about this shit. That's the time that we all actually took acid other than Rafa. And fucking, I don't think there was a Gabe moment that day, but we'll get to that in a
The biggest
Gabe moment. The fucking that Gabe moment has a title named after it on this channel. But fucking we took acid and then we went down to the beach. We kind of looked at it for a second and we were like, well, this is a little bit small. Let's hike up this other like ridge thing. And I didn't really want to do that shit because that was the day after Mauna Loa, I think, or 2 days after. And fucking, it was no big deal. It wasn't that long. I could tell Gabe was struggling though, because he was fucking. Gabe was also sore from getting attacked by that bobcat.
Oh, man, I wish you got to see that, man. He felt so bad on that lava rock.
What the dude? Fucking. So we went up the shit, and Gabe was obviously struggling, and we got up to the like ridge area, and that might actually. I don't know about Narnia being the most beautiful because that ridge was fucking gorgeous. And like,
yeah, that was insane.
Whenever we sat down at first, my head was fucking spinning, dude. Like I didn't like, you know, that little like edge that looked like a cliff. Like I was thinking, I was like, I don't even want to go close to that because I feel like the edge is gonna like fucking fall off and we're gonna die. And I was like horrified of that shit happening. But then we like walked up to it a second later, and it was just fucking literally a steep thing that if you fell, you would just like, you'd probably just roll for a minute and be not comfortable.
You'd be dead.
If you fell down that, you think it was that steep?
You're talking about like where you on the left side of the bench where you like walk and there's like a cliff?
No. I'm talking about like directly in front of the bench.
What'd you say?
Like directly in front of the bench.
Oh yeah. That would have just been uncomfortable. That would have been uncomfortable.
That would have sucked. No. The other cliff, that would have been you would have picked up speed while you were rolling down that shit. But anyways, we were there. We went down the other way to like, we were like, oh, we'll just go to the next stop off and smoke this joint. And fucking, we were like, oh, no big deal. And we started going for a while and we were like, maybe we should just stop and smoke it here. And I'm really glad we did that shit because we could have gone way farther. And that was really fucking hard to go back up there after we were, because we were already tripping. And then on top of that, we just smoked the joint to like re-up it. And like Rafa was just like, the mother duckling that was just watching his acid ducklings just walking into the fucking sewer grate. He was like going ahead of us. And then we went down and there was like giant fucking waves. And we we were just chilling for a while. We kicked the soccer ball. You spotted the fucking Portuguese man of war somehow. I still have no idea how you did that. Like at first I
seen a little blue thing.
I was literally like, okay, so the first time I met you, I was like, oh, this is a shell necklace wearing douchebag. And then whenever you're like, oh, dude, it's a Portuguese man of war, I was like, oh, he is being such a douchebag. That's a piece of plastic. And then you're like fucking with it with a stick and you're like, yep, this is it. And I was like, holy fuck, that's a jellyfish. And you're like, yep, it is. And I was like, that's fucking scary. I was like, you guys want to just pretend we didn't see that shit and then keep on kicking it around? And you're like, yeah. And then you're like, oh, that's another one. And we're like, yeah, maybe this isn't the move.
When I saw that first one, I knew I was like, we're probably going to see more because whenever you see one, there's usually a couple more in the water. And I did not want to I did not want to step on those. I've been stung by them before, and it's not.
Dude, what do you think would happen if one of those surfer niggas got stung by one of those?
He probably would have just not been a pussy about it.
Yeah, dude, I've never been stung by one, but I imagine that shit would hurt so fucking bad.
No, it hurts. It hurts, but I mean, those guys. Did you see those guys? Those guys were some badasses. They were charging some huge waves.
So we all came down from like we came down the valley, like down like a little trail of like cutback things. But they had like came from like the fucking forest, like the area that they're like, oh, this is. Lived there. You think so?
Yeah, I think they might have lived there because they said there was some. I saw something that there's like a community that lives in Palolo Valley, so I think they might have lived there.
Damn. Imagine if there is what if that's the homeless communities we thought about?
Man, his board was too nice to be homeless.
You think so? What if you just what if he goes to work at like a cheap place and like, or if he just does surfing lessons and saves up all his money to buy a nice ass board? He's just horrible at managing his money. Or honestly,
maybe, but I mean, shit. What? Sorry, go ahead.
No, my bad. Like being homeless in Hawaii would be like the best place to do it. Because it's not like...
I was literally going to say, like, what a spot to be homeless at.
Especially if you love surfing, you can just go out every fucking day and, like, just chill and like, I mean, I guess that's not chilling, but doing what you love. And like, you could do that shit all day if you're strong enough. Like that nigga's shoulders were ripped as shit.
His shoulders and traps were ridiculous.
Yeah, but fucking, so we were watching those niggas surf, and I think it was right before that actually, is whenever we had the biggest Gabe moment. So I told the story before, but I think I might have had it a little bit off. So I want to hear the story from your point of view, from like the moment we started doing the rocks to. So
I have a messed up shoulder, and I didn't want to throw rocks, like skip rocks, because I just didn't want to hurt myself. And Rafa starts throwing rocks, and he's just slinging these rocks like hard as shit. Like he's getting a couple skips, but he's mainly just slinging it. And then Gabe walks up like, all right, I'm going to start slinging some rocks. And me and you were just like, oh, he's probably going to be sick at this. Like he's probably going to be really good at this. Watch him be really good.
But hold on, explain why. Explain why we think that Gabe was going to be good at this. Or at least why you thought so. Because the reason I thought that like Gabe was, my bad. I thought that Gabe was like, I was like, oh, well, I mean, like Gabe doesn't seem like he runs a lot, but he seems like he's really good at chilling and like barbecuing. And like for some reason, skipping rocks just seems like it's one of those things that would be right up his alley.
Yeah. Like good at just chill things, you know, like, I don't know, chill at the beach, chill by the lake, go fishing and just throw rocks and shit. But anyway, he like, I see him, he's about to walk up and throw the rock. And then I say, watch him be absolutely terrible at this. And we were hyping him up. And mind you, we're tripping the whole time as well. So it's like further like compound, like this is just making it crazier and crazier. And then he goes and throws it. And he just like, instead of throwing it straight, he throws it directly to the left at this couple that looked like they were having a honeymoon. And I see this rock like barreling at this woman at top speed. It's looking like it's about to hit her straight in the forehead. And then some like, by the grace of God or something, some miracle occurred to where like, instead of hitting this woman straight on like it looked like it was going to, it just skipped off to the side. And you and I just completely went silent. We were laughing and then just both were like, oh my God, this woman's going to die.
Dude.
And Gabe and Rafa did not even react to it much at all. Like he didn't even.
Rafa reacted to the, Rafa saw the skipping part. He was like, oh, Gabe, how did you do that? And like, I was like, this woman just cheated death. What the fuck? And like you said, we were talking and it wasn't like we talked and then afterwards Gabe walked up and grabbed the rock. Like while we're talking, he's grabbing the rock. He's like doing his little stretches and shit. And then he's like about to wind up and throw the fuck out of this shit. And then like he throws it while we're talking and it's just silence. And it's like, and then like you said, by the grace of it, that had to have been God. Because I know that Gabe was just thinking about how bad it was going to be getting raped in prison after he was in there for manslaughter. And like, we were like, Gabe, you don't realize what you did. He's like, yes, I do. Shut up, bro. Just imagine. Could you imagine?
Stop. No, I mean, had it hit her, could you imagine the damage that would have done? That would have hit her straight in the face.
Because Gabe threw that shit hard as fuck, and that was not really a small rock at all. That like,
yeah,
I like depending on where that hit her, if that would have cracked her in the temple, that really might have fucking like killed her, like very possibly. Oh, like David and Goliath, she would have looked like Lil Uzi Vert. She would have looked like Lil Uzi Vert with the stone in her forehead.
Oh, no.
Gabe would have walked.
Imagine hit her in the teeth.
Oh, that would have been so much worse to watch because all like the nerve endings would have been falling out of her teeth. Oh, it would have been bloody and she would have been screaming and Gabe would have been like, dude, do I go up to her and try and make her better or what do I do? That shit would have been so... Dude, Gabe, I'm so glad we had Gabe there. Dude, that's a sick-ass chair.
Oh, yeah, my company paid for it, dude. $600.
That's fucking nice. That's like a gaming chair. Dude, my fucking roommate got one. Did they send it to you, like, put together, or did you have to put it together?
I mean, I had to put it together, but all I had to do was, like, put the chair arms on and then the bottom and the back. It wasn't...
Dude, they sent my roommate one, and, like, he bought a nice-ass chair, and they sent it to him, like... in the smallest possible pieces to where it was basically like a screw by screw thing. And I was like, God damn.
No.
That's way too complicated. But fucking, we were talking about the Gabe moment a second ago, the fucking rock throw. The other notable Gabe moment, which honestly, I can't even pick a favorite, because like this, the Gabe moment, so the first day that we were actually like doing adventures, we went on that hike, and Gabe and I both took acid. And we went through, and there was two paths. It was the jungle trail and the coastal trail. And you guys are like, you and Rafa knew that, and you're like, oh, which one do you guys want to take? And I was like, definitely jungle trail. Like, that would be sick. And we were like, yeah, let's go jungle trail. And we fucking go through it, and it is just insane. Like, if you would have told me, like, oh, we're in South America and the Amazon, I would have believed you. If you would have been like, we're in fucking Asia, in the middle of India, like walking through, I would have believed you. Except for we had no fear of getting jacked by any big animals. And like, we just get to see mongoose. That's also crazy. I don't think a lot of people know, or mongoose, maybe, whatever the fuck. There are mongooses. Yeah, there is mongoose, whatever the fuck. They're on Hawaii. Like the things that go around killing cobras.
And they're really creepy too. Like they you can see that they lurk and they steal food too, bro. Like they would take a human if they could. If they could, they would take a human. Those things are malicious. And they're so like fast. And
they're so not scared of you.
Each take a person's Subway sandwich before.
Like a whole sandwich?
Yeah. Like a whole sandwich. There's this tourist who was at the beach, just like left it there, and I saw it walk up, grab it, and then just run back off. And they can't catch it. Like
those things are fast.
Away from you. Yeah, they're fast. Like it'll if you charge at it, it'll just kind of back up a little bit and just watch you, but it won't run away. It'll be like, I know you're not going to catch me. I'm just going to keep distance, but I know you can catch me, and he'll just keep watching you.
Dude, it's like fucking Iniesta whenever he's hitting the strafe, dribbling in the midfield on somebody, just like, come on in on me, bitch. I'm about to embarrass you. Dude, by the way, I want to say, fuck AC Milan. We're going to skull fuck you guys in the Champions League 2 games, and I'm going to talk the most shit.
We're going to see.
But anyways, we went through the jungle trail. We saw a couple cool things. Like there's that giant fucking hole in the forest that was like, kind of looked like it was not a sinkhole, but it was just like, kind of like it looked like it was the start of a cave, but it didn't go anywhere. We took some pictures there, fucking kept on going, and we went to the beach and we took our shit off and we were in the water for a little bit, and we were like, after a while, we were like, let's go smoke this joint. So we go back, we put on our stuff. Well, we don't put on our stuff. We put on like our water. We already had our water shoes on, and I had Crocs on. So I had my Crocs with me, and I just went through we walked through this little river thing. We passed by all the people, and then we went into like another little jungle area for a little bit. And we went and sat on the seawall and smoked the joint. And we were just kind of chilling, listening to music. And then whenever we were about to come back, we were like, all right, let's get our stuff back on, because we have to go through this jungle area. And so we put our shit back on, and we got all our stuff packed up, and we're going down. And then we remember that we crossed a little river to get there, and that we had to take our shit off. And so I was like, all right, well, I'm just going to take my fucking shoes off real quick, because I definitely am not walking through this. I had my Adidas, the shit I work out in, my Adidas like NMDs. And I was like, I'm not going to walk through this. And so I took them off, walked across, and I was waiting. And you and Rafa were like walking up the thing to see if there was another way you could go around. But I knew that it was like a bigger river going across. And this is while me and Gabe were tripping on acid, and you and Rafa were sober. And so I start putting my stuff on, and I look back, and you guys are doing your thing. And then I see Gabe with his like boots and his socks on just go, oh, fuck it, and start walking through like knee deep water, just like completely ignoring the fact that he's doing it, just like pretending that he doesn't look like a crazy person. And whenever he got back, at first I was like, I'm not going to laugh. I don't want to make him feel bad. And I looked over at you and Rafa, and you guys were like fucking almost in tears laughing. And I burst out fucking dying. And Gabe was like, whenever he got over, he was like, oh, dude, now I look like the retard. And I was like, wait, who did you think looked like the retard in the first place? There was no one but you that looked retarded in that scenario.
Because, like, he violated the... You don't get your hiking boots wet unless you have to get them wet, because you're just going to have a shitty rest of your day otherwise. I guarantee you by the end of that hike, his toes look like raisins.
Dude. And also, he was trying to lie to himself and to me, and he was like, dude, I don't even feel it. He was going across, and I was like, you're going through knee-deep water, Gabe. Yes, you do. And then whenever we were about to, you guys took your stuff off and walked across, and you're like, Gabe, why did you just do that? And he was like, oh, I didn't even feel it. And you guys put your stuff back on. We were about to leave, and Gabe was like, hold on. And took his fucking shoes off and had to dry his fucking feet off, wring out his socks, and then put his shit back on. And I think it was Rafa that said it. He was like, Gabe, by the end of the day, you're going to have hooch brewing in the bottom of your fucking shoes because his fucking feet were going to be fermenting in that shit. Oh my God.
I know that shit wasn't pleasant for him.
No, it couldn't have been. I know that he regretted the second he stepped in, but he was already way too. Once you already step in, it doesn't matter what you do at that point. Like he could have stepped back 2 steps and taken his shit off. It wouldn't have made a difference because he already stepped in water with it. So I guess I could see why he went across, but that was just so fucking funny.
Yeah. What was the other Gabe moment? Oh, when he fell. That was when you missed it.
Dude, I wasn't at that one, but we had to explain that like a little bit more in depth, more than just the Mauna Loa hike. That shit was like fucking 20 miles long, and it was like,
oh yeah.
How much was the elevation?
I think at the top it was like 13,500 feet. Like that was like the top of it.
Jesus Christ!
To get started with it, we had to wake up at like 3 a.m. to get there because it was about an hour and a half away. I had to take the biggest shit known to mankind. So I took a shit in the middle of the lava field. And I didn't tell you guys this, but I also pissed all over myself. So before we even started, I pissed all over my legs. So I took a shit, and I pulled down my pants, and I pissed while I was shitting, and pissed all over my pants. And I was just sitting there like, fuck, my legs are just soaked in my own piss.
Were you just hoping that no one in the car was like, man, it smells like piss in here? Dude.
I'm surprised none of y'all said anything.
I had no idea. That's so fucking funny. Dude, also, the day before Mauna Loa is the day that we did acid. And, like, whenever we got back, I thought that I was like, damn, I'm not going to be able to go to sleep. And Gabe we were both sleeping in the living room. Like, I had an air mattress and he was on the pull-out, like, sofa or pull-out fucking bed thing. And I was like, oh, yeah. I looked over at Gabe on his phone. I was like, oh, Gabe is definitely going to be awake with me all night, too. Like 5 minutes later, I heard that nigga snoring, and I was like, fuck. And it was like maybe like 11. And I sat up staring at the ceiling till like 1 a.m. And then we woke up at like 4 to do that shit. And then I drove, too. And I was just like, oh, yeah, it'll be good. And then fucking... So we did the hike, flying down the road, by the way. But we did the hike, went up to the top. And, like, because I live here in altitude, I was fucking killing it. Like, it was really easy for me. But, like, you niggas were 11,000 feet above where you normally are. And you're not used to the altitude gain in the first place. So that shit was, like, killing you guys. And I was like, all right. I would go ahead and, like, take pictures of you guys from the front and shit. And I was like, all right, this is fun. But then whenever I was going down, I was like, man, I really just want to go fast and get the fuck out of here. And you guys gave me the keys. And so I left, and I didn't get to see this Gabe moment, but you have to tell me every single detail you remember about that shit.
But at that time, dude, we were worried about you because we were trying to call you to see where you were, and you weren't answering any phones. And we were thinking that you took a wrong turn or something. Because there was a part that we took a wrong turn. Like that little road that like kind of went off the main path.
And it looked like it was the main path because it was like paved like the rest of it. I took the same wrong turn.
Yeah, we were trying to hurry up because, number one, we wanted to see if you were good. And number two, we wanted to just get the fuck out of there. And at this moment, Gabe was literally leading us, and he was flying. He was moving so fast. I was like, where did all this energy come from? And the next thing you know, dude, he, like, takes a step to kind of describe how this hike is. It's literally, like, 18 miles. We took 20 miles, but that's because we were retarded and went the wrong way. But it's about 18 miles of just, like, rocky lava. Like, just... Not like lava that you can walk on securely. It was literally like giant rocks that you have to like balance on, and you can easily fall at any moment for the whole hike.
And every step you're testing it because you're like, fuck, dude, like this could crack in, and like I could fall like deep in this shit.
Mm-hmm. And it's the lava rocks are like not like sharp like knives. Like my hiking boots got shredded by those. I mean, they were already pretty destroyed to begin with, but they just got sent to the coffin after that. And Gabe is leading us, and he's walking on this path ahead of us, going pretty fast. Next thing you know, he slips on the rocks, and I literally see him go flying. Like, he starts rolling down this path, and I see his legs in the air. And he did pretty well, honestly, because I thought he was going to, like, hit his head or break his foot or break his ankle or something. But he, like, rolled, like, caught himself and rolled. But he caught himself on the sharpest lava rock ever, so he just got diced up all over his arm, like, cut the fuck up. Because he freaking fell, and me and Rafa were like, I didn't laugh. Rafa laughed.
Dude, that's such bullshit. There's no way you didn't.
I did not laugh because I thought he broke his fucking leg, and I was like, shit, this is gonna be like a life or death situation here because we're gonna have to carry this man like 6 miles, and we're already cutting it close.
And you already didn't know where I was, and you're like, oh shit. Yeah. So now we don't know where Nathan is. He could be lost, and Gabe might have broke his fucking leg.
As soon as Gabe was like, pick me up, you assholes, I was like, started dying. Oh, he's good. I started crying, laughing. But dude, speaking of cutting it close, what about those people that might have gotten left up there?
Dude, so I didn't even mention them in the Hawaii episode. I didn't even say anything about them. So there's one of two things that happened. Either A, they got down safely somehow, or B, they got lost up there and no one knows about it to this day other than their families. Because, like, they did, like, I saw them when I was coming down. Like, I went down a lot faster than you guys, and I saw them in a certain area, and I was like, they look like they're hiking out to the cabin because they're definitely not on the path. And they were, like, 500 feet off the path to where I could see them, and, like, I could have screamed and they could have heard me. Because also, it's fucking deadly silent up there. Like, I was, like, losing my mind coming down because I could, like, not hear my heartbeat, but just like I had like bottles of water in my bag and shit, and I would just hear it swish around a little bit, and I would think that someone like snuck up on me, and it was like really fucking weird. Like that shit scared me. But I could have yelled to them and they could have heard me, but like I was not going out of my way. I was like, they know what they're doing. They're going out to the cabin. Because there's another thing you could do is going out to a cabin, but that is like a serious fucking like 25-mile hike, and like they didn't
30 miles to the forest.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, so that was not what they were trying to do. And I saw them, and then you guys saw them, and actually, well, you talked to like one guy, didn't you? Did you see all of them or just the guy?
So we saw, it was like two girls and a guy at the top, and then there was this Asian dude that was with them that they left behind. I don't know if you saw the Asian guy. Do you remember him?
I didn't see the Asian guy.
So we saw them at the 2 miles to the summit point, which means they had 4 miles to go up and down to go back to where we were. And then we walked probably a mile down, and we saw this dude that was just sitting there on the rocks, and he looked completely dead. He was wearing like a polo shirt and like Nike runners and shorts, like not prepared for it at all. And then he went up to us and he asked me, Gabe, and Rock, he was like, do you know if there's like multiple paths up there? Like, how does it work? And I'm exhausted, and then the altitude's getting me, and I'm trying to get the fuck out of there. I'm just like, I can't give you a synopsis of this trail. Like it's crazy, but yes, there's a lot of different paths up there. Why? And he said, oh yeah, did you see like a other group of people? And I was like, oh yeah, they're up there. And he said, yeah, they went ahead of me. I was really tired, and they ended up leaving him there, and they had just gotten in that day. Like they started that hike the same day they got there, and they left this poor guy there, and we were already cutting it close. Like we probably had an hour until it was going to get dark by the time we got back to the car. And they were probably like 2 hours. They were probably going to be like 2 hours behind us, 2 or 3 hours behind us. And that guy, they left there on the mountain. So I don't know what happened with that group of people because they definitely didn't make it down in time. And remember, the weather started to pick up bad as soon as we left.
I was going to say, there's two things about that. This hike, like this is the hike that we planned on about going to Hawaii for, is like, hey, when we go, we're doing this insane fucking hike. So make sure you are physically capable to do it. Like, for months, I'm sitting there making sure I'm physically capable to do it. You guys are sitting there making sure you're physically capable to do it. They didn't do any planning because that guy was just like, oh, like I want to see the volcano, thinking he was going to see like lava. They literally just looked up volcano and drove from Kona to there, and like probably still had their fucking suitcases with them. Like Literally did not plan. Like whenever we got there, you were like, okay, everybody text somebody and say, I'm going to be here. And like, if I'm not back by this time, then please call the authorities. Like we had a lot of safety precautions like in place for if something went wrong. And like, we first off physically prepared, then we mentally prepared because you told me about the cairns. And like, that's a concept that if you're not familiar with hiking, you're going to be very confused. It's like these pyramids of rocks and like you just follow those, and going up, it's pretty fucking easy. Cause like you're looking up the mountain and you have them in a contrast with the sky kind of, so you can see like where the stacks of rocks are. Coming down though, it's a little bit harder. You have to get low to the ground and kind of like look to see where the elevation is. And like, literally as we left, like we got down there, I had already rolled a joint because I was down there passed the fuck out. And then we stopped a little bit ahead on the road, smoked the joint at insane altitude, got high as fuck, started going down. Gabe almost crashed because he was driving insane. And there was some dude in a Mustang that was like, I guess, challenging him, trying to hit him. And it started downpouring. Like it was beautiful and sunny the entire time we're there. Like when we left, like it really did get like ugly and scary. And like the one thing I will say that is kind of in their favor that I don't think they would have been that affected by the weather is like where we started the hike out at was at 11,000 feet and we were already above the clouds.
11,
it was
but the clouds rolled in on them, dude. That fog that shows up if the clouds roll in on you when you're up there, they wouldn't have been able to see the cairns at all. I mean, but I've been checking the reporting of like Mauna Loa, and they didn't find any corpses. So I think that they made it out. Like,
do you think that they made it out, or do you think they were rescued?
They could have gotten rescued. The thing is, there was service on parts of the hike, so I'm thinking that if they just were able to get service at least, then they would have maybe been fine. And they're not gonna have like a news story about dumbass hikers getting rescued. They're gonna have a news story about dumbass hikers dying.
Yeah. Fucking, the thing is like the Japanese dude, whenever he was trying to go, and he literally was Japanese. It's not me making like a generalization, but like fucking, but what's it called? He like he might have been tired, but he like going down was way easier than going up. Like physically wise, I preferred going up, but like cause going down, I almost fell like 3 times, and there was like literally 3 times that I fell, and I was like, oh shit, I might like have just fucked up my ankle. And like the worst one was like, literally, I could see the yellow gate, like, as I was leaving, and it was, like, all, like, not loose rocks, but it was just a bunch of rocks, and, like, I stepped, and my ankle literally got in, like, for a second, the most contorted, looks like it snapped angle, and I was like, oh, and, like, got up and tested weight on it, and I was like, thank fucking God. That would have been so, not even because of my ankle, I was like, that would have been so embarrassing if you guys would have got down there, because that was right after I was on the phone with you and let you know that I was safe, and I was like, that'd be so embarrassing if these niggas thought I got lost, were so worried, came down here, got down here, and saw that my dumbass is laying on the fucking floor in pain crying. That would have been so bad. But
that would have been really good. But you impressed me with your cardio, bro. Like, you literally went, like, the whole way fast. And you were not even tired. That shit was crazy.
I don't know. I mean, because also when I was physically preparing for it, I definitely over-prepared. Like, I would hit the 6 incline on the treadmill and just, like, hit the 6 speed, then get it up to 8 speed, and then up to 10 for, like, the last little bit. And, like, there was never a point that we were running up the incline. And the incline was about the same as 6, maybe a little bit less. So I was just, like, way over prepared, but I was glad that it was like that rather than under prepared.
Oh yeah, I mean, if Gabe was able to do it, like, hate to rag on Gabe, but he finished the whole thing. Like,
I didn't want to say it while we were there, but I was very worried the entire time that Gabe wasn't going to be able to handle it. And like every time you would say it,
I could barely handle it. I could barely handle that shit, and I know that Gabe's not in the same shape as I am. I was worried about us all not being able to handle it.
Dude, fucking, we pretty much covered all the Hawaii shit because it was all the Gabe moments. But I want to talk about the UFC. The fucking Leon Edwards Kamaru Usman fight the other night. Jesus fucking Christ. What was your, like, after you saw the first round, what were you thinking?
After the first round, Leon won the first round. He took down Kamaru Usman for the first time in his career, took his back, like, came close to submitting him a couple times. I was thinking, like, holy shit, this is going to be a competitive fight. And then Kamaru just started to make it look like a Kamaru fight where he's just grinding you out, hitting you with body shots, wrestling the fuck out of you, just breaking you down pretty much. And you could see with the corner advice, like they were saying, like, don't let him bully you. Don't let him bully you.
Like, dude, you got to fight. You have to fight back. Like every round they're telling him that.
Round by round. Yeah, round by round it was getting worse and worse. And you could see Leon was like looking like he was out of it. And then in like the fourth or the fifth round, the coach is saying like, stop feeling fucking sorry for yourself. Let's go. Stop feeling sorry for yourself. You want to win this shit? Pull it out the fire. And then you see Leon's eyes just like, all right, let's go. Let's go. Like a true fucking Rocky moment. And then he just, like, if you watch that fight too, you can see that Leon was not out of it. Even in like the rounds before that, he was still trying to set things up. Kamaru was just better.
Yeah.
But then he set up, he feinted the jab, feinted a kick, and then did that little combination where he like does the 1-2 and then throws the head kick, and that was all she wrote, dude. Like he was going for it the whole time, but it was just that perfect execution, and then just knocked Kamaru Usman dead. 16 fight win streak, like knocked off, takedown defense knocked off, first loss in the UFC knocked off. Like actually, he might have had one loss, but
how many title defenses did he have?
Like 5 or 6. So like, he's on his way to being one of the best fighters ever. He already kind of is, but he was on his way to being potentially the greatest if he defended it a couple more times.
There's only 4 fighters that have won, that have defended a belt like 10 times, I think. And it's like Jon Jones.
Yeah, and it's like Jon Jones,
Amanda Nunes.
Silva. No, not Nunes.
Nunes isn't one?
Silva, Jon Jones, Demetrius Johnson, and I think George St. Pierre. I think like those are the big guys, like the big 4 right there.
Jon Jones just posted something the other day after Amanda Nunes beat, what was her name? What was the girl's name? Yeah, after she beat her.
That was comical.
Dude, because like whenever she beat Amanda the first time, like I didn't even watch the fight because I'm like, it's Amanda Nunes fight. Amanda Nunes saying she could kick my ass doesn't mean anything because every single one of the women, every single person that's a part of the UFC could kick my ass. But like Amanda Nunes, like if I saw her in the street, I would think she would probably be able to kick my ass, not knowing she's a UFC fighter. And like the other girl, she just like came and like bombarded the fuck out of her, like in the highlights, and was just throwing punch after punch after punch. And Amanda was not used to that because usually she's the one bringing the pressure. And then did she win that one by decision or did she actually knock her out?
No, she finished Amanda. But I mean, granted, Amanda apparently did just get COVID, and she said that initially it messed up her cardio. And at first, everyone was like, "Oh, she's making excuses." And then she comes back in the second fight and has 5-round cardio, and everyone's like, "Oh, maybe she had a point." Like recovering from a bad case of COVID will mess up your cardio for sure.
Did you ever get COVID?
I did, but I was strong.
I got COVID as well, and it was just like, like everyone said, the flu. Like, the flu isn't fun to get by any means, but I wasn't worried I was going to die. I was just like, this fucking sucks. Like, I was laying in my bed in a jacket and pajama bottoms and covered in like 3 blankets and like freezing cold, but also sweating my balls off. It sucked. And like having to go out into a fight after that would definitely, I feel like, have at least some of an effect.
And she had like a bad case though. It wasn't like how me and you had it. Like I had it. I had like a fever for like 2 days and then I started to kick it. But she had it like where her lungs got messed up from it and it like really messed her up. But like that'll definitely affect your cardio for sure.
Dude, fucking Giannis Papas, the comedian Giannis Papas got that shit and he was so scared of getting it and he had it for like 2 months and it was a horrible case. Like I guess it affected everyone differently depending on whatever the fuck happened to you. But other UFC shit, dude, there's some major cards coming up. Like Khamzat versus Nate Diaz is one. Who else is on that card?
That card, I think they kind of went and fucked Nate Diaz up for that card. Like they gave him on his last card ever, on his last UFC fight ever, they gave him one of the toughest matchups that they could have possibly given him. And they didn't add anyone to that card, so his pay-per-view sales are going to go down. Like they did not put anyone, I mean, they put a couple good fighters, but they did not stack that card for Nate at all. They stacked the next card though. I think the next card
is that Islam versus Charles? Because that one, there's another good fight on there. There's like 2 good fights on there. Who?
I know he's fighting Peter Yan. Rest in peace.
Oh yeah, dude. So Nate, whenever you say Nate Diaz is gonna get fucked by Khamzat, like there's a lot of the people that watch this are like Stockton niggas that are literally from Stockton, California, and like they're gonna take issue with you saying that because I've also said it. But could you just explain a little bit more into why this is such a mismatch and why Khamzat is so likely to beat Nate?
So Nate has never done well against like big time wrestlers. Generally he doesn't do well against big wrestlers, especially big wrestlers in welterweight. He is a lightweight. That's his division. He fights at 155 normally. He only recently went up to 170 because he's just like, I don't give a fuck. I'll just have big fights at 170. I don't give a fuck. Like, he doesn't want to cut weight. You know, he's just doing his thing. And he also fought Leon Edwards. That's the thing about Nate, bro. He doesn't give a fuck. He only fights the best guys. Like, he does not give a fuck.
They had a good fight, Leon and him.
I mean, Leon was like kind of dog walking him for like the whole fight until the very end when Nate almost knocked him out.
He almost finished him, but he did. I think he hit him with the Stockton slap and then was hitting him with the birds.
Bro, he slapped the shit out of him and then hit him with a big left hand and like almost put him out. And then instead of like going for the finish, because Leon's on skates, he's just like, yeah. And I have so much respect for Nate, but back to what I was saying about Khamzat. Khamzat is like a big 170-er. He can literally fight at 185 and do well. And he's super wrestling heavy. Like, it might not be like a violent beating. I could just see Nate just getting thrown around. But on the other hand, I could see Khamzat maybe getting tired, maybe trying to brawl with Nate. If he tries to brawl with Nate, Nate could take his shots, and I could see Nate maybe getting him tired and finishing him in fifth, fourth, or fifth. But I just see Khamzat just tossing him around for the whole fight. If you watch Rory McDonald versus Nate Diaz, you'll know what I mean.
Dude, but like Khamzat, he's a scary motherfucker, and he kind of seems like he's I think it's not Kazakhstan, it's Chechnya. He's Chechnyan. Yeah. Well, he's Swedish because he moved to Sweden like whenever he was young because it's such a war-torn country. I've talked about Chechnya enough. Yeah, Chechnya, they're wild. Basically, the niggas that like did 9/11, like the terrorists, like Al-Qaeda, they were over as the Mujahideen. Like, the reason that there's like a Osama bin Laden and George Bush connection is because back in like the 90s, the Afghanistan people were fighting the Russians because like that's a country that's actually connected to Russia, and they wanted to get that because they wanted to go down into India and to like actually go. If Russia wants to take over India, they'd have to get Afghanistan because there's a little piece they need. But they're like, oh yeah, we're just going to go after Afghanistan. So they went and made like terrorist groups in Chechnya, and they're like, we're going to fight back. And the Chechens were like, would go into like pregnancy wards and like take hostages and kill people. They would go into movie theaters and shoot it up. And like, that's why it became like so crazy. Like, even they're right next to Dagestan where Khabib's from. And like that's where they did the pregnancy ward thing. But it's like a crazy area. Cause like every once in a while, like Russia and them will just have a big war where like they have to come suppress the fucking movement. And like, there's people fighting back. And that's why Khamzat had to leave. And like, that's not why he's a tough motherfucker, but I bet growing up in an area where like you hear artillery and shit going off around you makes you pretty fucking tough.
Oh, 100%. That's one of the reasons he's the way he is, for sure. And like he's doing it for his family too. Like, he talks about it. Like, the only reason he's doing this is to help his mom, but help him the way she did. So you're not gonna break the will of a dude like that. There's no way. But like, he's got decent striking, and he's got big power, and his wrestling is just out of this world. I mean, you didn't see it much against Gilbert because he just wanted to brawl, which didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I mean, granted, Gilbert had that ridiculous jiu-jitsu, but I still think he should have threatened more takedowns and been smarter. But if he tries to brawl with Nate like that, I don't think that's a smart move at all. I don't think he will. I think he'll be smarter. But if he tries to brawl with Nate, that's going to be a way Nate can win.
I think his confidence, Khamzat's, was a little bit too high before the Gilbert fight because you definitely do remember, you the one that gave me the stat. It was like 92% of his significant shots to every part of people's bodies were landing, and he'd only been hit like 2 or 3 times. And I think that he came into like, yeah. And like the one that I saw that was crazy was the Korean Zombie fight. And he literally picked him up, or was that Korean Zombie? The guy,
Asian dude.
So same thing. They're all the same. But fucking Khamzat fucking picked him up and was like, had him in his arms and is like, Dana, look at me, Dana. It was at Fight Island, and he fucking like slammed him or something, and I was just like, Jesus Christ, that's a tough motherfucker. And I think that fucking, what's it called? That nigga was just super hype on himself, and then the Gilbert Burns fight came, and then he actually got tagged like quite a bit. I haven't watched that one, but I saw like the stats of it, and it looked like Gilbert maybe should have won. Like, not having watched the fight, but like, it was just like Khamzat had like, I think a few less significant strikes. a little bit more control time and like no takedowns or something.
I thought it was close, but I did think Khamzat won barely. Like I thought he won rounds 1 and 3, I believe. But Khamzat did get dropped in that fight. That was crazy. I think Gilbert hit him with like a big overhand left, like literally sent his face that way and then dropped him. But Gilbert also got dropped as well. Khamzat dropped him with a jab. It was crazy. I definitely recommend you watch it. It was a crazy fight.
Dude, the Sean O'Malley Piotr Jan fight. That's another one that a lot of people know, Sean O'Malley, and like not a lot of people are into the UFC. Could you also go and explain that one a little bit to the Steve Will Do It fans on why Sean O'Malley will most likely not even finish this fight?
Let me say first, Sean O'Malley is literally, he might be my favorite fighter right now. I love that guy. I watch his YouTube. Like, he's like a homie to me almost, even though I don't know him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I love that dude. But there's a difference when you're looking at a guy that started fighting when he was 16, who just played basketball and soccer. He says, I think I'm good at fighting because I've like always played basketball, soccer, baseball. I've always been good at those sports, so I picked up fighting pretty well and I'm pretty coordinated. Versus a guy who grew up in Siberia who's been fighting like since he was 6 years old. He said like, oh yeah, I used to get in 5 fights in a day when I was in school because people would pick on me. And he's been fighting in like Russia since then. And he's literally a world champion level athlete. Like, he may have lost his belt to Aljamain Sterling, but a lot of people still think he's the best fighter in that division. And they say that might be the best division in the entire UFC.
Hey, so, but just don't be fake. Don't be fake about your boy Aljamain. Don't make people think that that's not your favorite fighter.
I'm not gonna hate on Aljamain, but I just think you heard what I said. A lot of people don't. I mean, a lot of people are gonna still say that Piotr Jan is basically the best fighter in the division, and arguably the best division in the UFC. And Sean O'Malley hasn't fought anyone. I mean, he fought Pedro Munoz, and I thought he was doing all right in that fight. But you didn't really get to see a lot. But he's never fought a guy who's a championship level fighter. And Piotr Jan's just a different level of striking compared to him. I think, although I could be wrong. Piotr Jan's known to start pretty slow when he fights. So I could see him starting slow, and maybe Sean can grab the first round or two and maybe get a decision. But what I see happening is maybe Sean gets the first round, the first half of the first round. Piotr starts to figure him out, and then he could probably TKO him in the second or third round. That's what I see happening. And I'll be heartbroken, but that's what I think is going to happen.
The thing is, though, is like, I like Sean as well, and I don't want to see that happen to him. But like, if he can stick out the entire fight, that's going to be so huge for his career. Because like, even if he loses, it's not like losing to like some bum. Because like Sean, he stepped up from fighting unranked fighters and destroying them to Pedro Munoz, who was like low ranked. And I think that the step from like a high ranked fighter to a low ranked fighter might be quite a bit bigger than the difference between a low ranked fighter and a not ranked fighter. And I think Sean thought like, oh, I was beating Pedro up and he wasn't doing anything, so I could go up the ranks. And I think he might have bit off a little more than he can chew.
That's true, unless he gets absolutely decimated. Like, if he gets stiffened, his stock, like, even though they're going to be like, oh, it's Piotr Jan, but it's still, like, you're going to have...
He's going to be like, you stepped up to him.
Starched.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like, if he gets starched by Piotr Jan, his stock will not go up. But if he makes a decision, then, yeah, his stock will go up because he hung with arguably the best fighter in the world. Like, one of the pound-for-pound top fighters.
Dude, I really didn't want Sean to take that one. And I also didn't want Nate to take the Khamzat fight. Those are both like fights that are going to be hard to watch because I like Nate too. I'm not like a Nate Diaz fan, but he's an entertaining guy to watch. Like the Jorge Masvidal fight, whenever he had to like end it because he was bleeding so much, and he's just like, man, I don't want to stop, and he's just like fucking telling the medical guy, fuck you, I want to keep fighting. Like that, you want to root for a guy like that. But then it's like, I really like Khamzat because you put me on him, and you're like, there's this scary fucking dude that's like throwing people around. You told me about when he picked him up and like was like, look at me, Dana. And like, he took like 3 fights on Fight Island in a row and was just like killing dudes. Mm-hmm. And like,
yeah,
I think they might be trying to feed Nate to Khamzat just to like, cause it's like now it's going to be like, now he's beating Gilbert Burns and he's beaten somebody that a lot of people consider a legend. Like, just as far as like popularity in the UFC, I don't know personally if he would be a UFC legend as far as the skill. Like, people knowing him, he's one of the most known names in the UFC. So it'd be, now he's beaten a proven guy in Gilbert and a fucking famous guy in Nate. I would like to see who they're going to give him next.
I mean, they're probably going to either give him a title shot, depending on how long it takes for Kamaru Usman to come back, or they might give him Colby Covington.
You think Kamaru's going to be the next? Kamaru's definitely going to get his shot next at his title.
Yeah. I mean, unless he wants to give it a break because he just got
staunch night.
Yeah, like he should probably give it like 8 months or something just to let his brain heal. But I'm sure they're going to give him an immediate rematch. I mean, they should. He's one of the greatest fighters ever, and he was pound for pound number one. But like Leon said, dude, pound for pound, headshot dead.
Dude, I did not understand that at all. Like, whenever he took the fight, he's like, oh, boom, pound for pound, headshot, bang, dead. And I was just like, people were like, that was the hardest UFC after interview ever. I was like, what? That was just...
Look at me now.
Look
at me. He has an atrocious accent, dude. He has an atrocious British accent.
Dude, out of all... Okay, now we got to go into Chambo stories. But first, out of all the places on that either of those stupid little inbred islands that they call the United Kingdom, what do you think the worst accent out of there is?
Oh, probably got to be the Scousers.
Dude, I was going to say, my number one would be the Scousers, and number two would be people from Essex.
I'm not super familiar with Essex.
You know Russell Brand?
Oh, yeah.
You know Bailey Brunning? You remember Bailey Brunning?
Yeah, that's a pretty gross accent. But yeah, probably, for me, Scousers and probably people that are from the Brummies. I don't know where exactly that is, but I've heard some people from there, and it's terrible. Actually, there's quite a few atrocious accents there, because I had a friend from Doncaster, and he was a nice guy. He had the worst accent I've ever heard in my life, man.
Dude, what do the people in Chambo's village sound like? The hello,
talking about like the actual Welsh people?
Yes.
That's like northern Welsh people. Even Chambo says that they're like freaks. He's from he's saying, hello.
Dude, oh my God. We got to get at least the Chambo story and at least the Joe story. I feel like the most fitting Joe story is the first time that I met Joe. And basically, the first time I met you, I had to go into this a little bit so I can like preface it a little bit. We were both on the soccer team, but the first time I really spoke to you, I had already stopped giving a fuck about soccer, and it was like, what, the third practice or something? And like I had a joint in my car, and like, oh wait, that was the first day I came back to practice, because like there was a whole fucking thing with a stupid bitch ass assistant coach named Cody Crippen. He's not Bloodin, Cody is Crippen.
That guy that's racist. And he also was like weird to his players.
And I'm pretty sure that he also was very into kids. He did tell me that once. He definitely, I mean, maybe it wasn't in a sexual way, but he did say he liked kids, and he said, you probably wouldn't like it if I told you what I mean by that. And I was like, I won't ask then. But anyways, I came back from my first day at practice, and I saw you like walking away, and I don't know how we somehow, like, in the short amount of time brought up weed. And I was like, I had like this stupid, ugly extendo joint that I had rolled. And I used to just take like a king size and then like on the end of it, take another king size and like fucking roll them together. And it would look like have you ever seen Salad Fingers? One of the fingers from that shit. Yeah. It was ugly as shit. But I was like, oh yeah, you should see what I have in the car. And I didn't know who you were at the time. And so, like, I was like, oh, yeah, if I show him the joint, like I said earlier, I was like, oh, he's just a shell necklace wearing douchebag. This guy doesn't smoke. He doesn't smoke like that. Like, he does. And I'm thinking, like, oh, I'm going to impress him with this joint. And I had to go out to the practice. He's like, wait, what do you have in the glove compartment? And I was like, oh, I'll show you later. And then I ended up going out to Tallahassee with Nick. Like, people said, like, the freshmen were like, we're going to Nick Cady's house. And I was like, okay. And then you were there. And I was like, that's weird, because I did know Nick, and I was like, Nick is a square. Like, I love Nick, but he's just not like, I wouldn't have expected him to be living with you. And like, we smoked that joint and we were cool.
Hey, Nick's my boy.
Yeah, Nick is cool. Nick is a nice ass fucking dude. I love Nick, but it was just like, it's weird because like everybody on the freshman team talked about how legendary like you and Chambo and like some of the like upperclassmen were. And so I was just like not even expecting Nick to be in that realm. And I didn't even know he was a senior at that time. So I was like, yeah. Triple, this is weird. But like, anyways, I saw you guys there. We smoked the joint, and like we ended up being cool as fuck, and we'd smoke quite often. But we made a deal where like I would DD for you guys if I could just smoke a joint and then I'd be straight and like drive us. And so I think the first time actually we went out, I don't even think we brought roommate Joe out with us, but he was there at Baja's and everyone was getting destroyed. And I was like, these niggas are hilarious because you guys were all trashed. And it was destroyed. For sure that were there. It was me, you, Chambo, Bree was there, and I think Dana rode with us. And it was no big deal. We drove back from Baja's, didn't think about anything. I remember at one point in the night though that I saw Joe giving like Chambo his wallet and his keys and shit, and I was just like,
he always does that when he gets super fucked up. He starts giving people his personal belongings because he knows he'll lose them otherwise. And they ended up saving his life because they weren't identified.
Yeah, we'll get into that in a little bit. But I see him giving Chambo his belongings at one point in the night. I'm like, that's weird, whatever. I'm not going to question it because, like, they're British dudes. That's not my business. Whatever. And so we go on. We have a great night. That was so fun. And, like, we drive all the way back. And, like, Tallahassee's, like, 30 minutes from Thomasville. And, like, you have to go through a pretty dead road, and it sucks. But it's, like, whatever. And so we're going back and like, all of you guys are piled up in the backseat. I think Gabe was with us as well. And
no, Gabe wasn't there.
Gabe wasn't there. But we get back to your place. Chambo goes into, we have to explain, roommate Joe didn't have an actual room. It was the sunroom of your apartment. And
living room.
Yeah, so it was your living room that basically there was a partition up, and that was roommate Joe's room. And so Chambo walked like into the living room, pulled aside the partition, tossed his wallet and his keys onto his bed, and he was like, he didn't say anything, and we were just chilling. And then I don't remember how it came up, but someone was like, hey, where's roommate Joe? And we were like, oh, I don't know. And Chambo was like, I guess we could just call him and see. And so I was the DD. I had literally just poured a drink, and I had taken a sip of it, and we were going to smoke, and we were going to chill and play FIFA, whatever the fuck we were going to do. And Chambo gets an answer to Joe's phone call, and it's an officer, and he's like, this is officer such and such. And we were like, oh shit. And it was like, this is all bad. And like, we're like, no. And we literally like, we couldn't even contain it of just like being disappointed and being like, no. So we said it out loud, and the officer's like, no, it's no problem. He's not in trouble or anything. He's just passed out here outside the McDonald's at Baja's. And my first thought is, we're going to speed back there, make it in 20 minutes, pick up Joe and be straight. And then you grabbed the phone from Chambo and you went, excuse me, sir, we are in Thomasville, Georgia. We're in Thomasville, Georgia right now. We have to come back and get him. And the cop was like, well, I can't actually wait that long. And
I was blackout, okay?
Yeah, I didn't blame you. Like, everyone was blackout. I should have added. But, like, fucking some a little more blackout than others and pass out outside of McDonald's at Baja's. But anyways, I'm like, okay, well, we got to go back and get him. And we're calling the phone because the dude is like, I can't wait that long. We're going to take him to the hospital. And, like, hung up on us. And we're calling him back all the way on the way. And you had grabbed the dab pin, and we were tapping that bitch all the way down. And we were fucking flying down. And I was trying to figure out what hospital he was in. And eventually we got an answer, and we called the station. And we're like, oh yeah, our friend is like down there, or our friend was passed out outside of McDonald's, and he was a cop was just on the phone with us, and we want to know where he's getting taken to. And he didn't tell us, and he hung up, and he's not answering the phone. And they're like, oh, well, he's at the Memorial Hospital, I think it was called. And we're like, okay, thank you so much. And so we pull up there, still tapping the pin the entire time we're there. We didn't know where he was because it's a kind of big hospital, and like,
dude,
it was very fucking big, like multiple stories to it, multiple different things. There was like a nice lounge area that we ended up at. And so we get there, and we finally walk into like where there's the ER, and we walk up to the front, and the lady's like, can you sit down for a minute? I'll be with you in just a second. And I was like, okay. And we're sitting down, waiting for a second. She's like, okay, you can come up. And so I go talk to the lady, and you just sat down and we're chilling. And I was like, hey, my British friend is like here, and I just needed to know that he's okay and everything. She's like, yeah, he's actually in there with the cops right now, and they're trying to figure out like who he is and stuff. And so he might not be able to, she's like, he might not be able to like talk or like leave tonight. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I just need to talk to him and make sure that he's all right. And like his mom is worried and we'll be all good. And she's like, okay, well, I can let him talk to you for a minute, but you are going to have to wait a minute because they're questioning him in there right now. And I was like, okay. And I sat down next to you and I don't remember what happened first, but there are two events that happened in that waiting room. One of them was Jimmy Fruzer came out and was spitting game to two black bitches. And you're like, what's your name, beautiful? To one of the black girls. And she was like, my name is Shanice or whatever the fuck she said. And you're like, the other one was like, my name is this. And you're like, what are you guys here for? And she's like, my boyfriend got shot 9 times. And I was like, John, stop talking to them right now. And I was like, you're just like, okay. And like, there was another 2 dudes that came in. One was like a 25-year-old dude, and another was like a 40-year-old, maybe like 50-year-old dude. And the older dude had no shirt on. And I was like, okay. And like fucking the other dude walks up to the counter. He's like, my friend has a really bad concussion. Like, I don't know what's wrong with him. I found him in the middle of the street with his shirt off and he was bleeding out of his ears and he's just being really hostile. I need to get him help. And she's like, okay, well, just sit down and we'll get to him in a minute. And he's sitting there. Like the other dude went to sit down, the old guy, and the young guy comes back and sits with him. The old guy's like, this is bullshit. Like, I just want to go. What are we doing here? Like, this is a waste of time. And he was like, I found you in the middle of the road with your shirt off while you were passed out and you were acting aggressive. You need to be here. And the dude stared at him with like a blank stare for a second, the old guy. He's like, that happened to you? And he's like, no, it happened to you. And that's why you're here at the hospital. I'm not going to let you out. And like, I was just like, wanted to laugh, but I didn't want to laugh because I'm like, this dude is fucked up. And she's like, okay, you can go talk to him now. And I was like, John, go wait in the parking garage. We're about to have to run. And fucking I didn't even see if there was cops in there, but she's like, okay, you can talk to him. He's in the hallway waiting. And she's like, just don't go anywhere. We fucking run to the elevator. I think I might have told you to meet us on the level above.
We ran together. No, we ran together. I remember like phasing in and out of consciousness and just remember us running through the hospital and then losing consciousness again and then waking up somewhere else.
Dude, but we had to get him out of that area, like literally. And I didn't even tell the lady I was there with you, even though we walked in. But I swear that like we met on the level under and then started taking off through the hospital because we weren't parked anywhere near there. Like we were walking around to find the emergency room and like we were running through the parking garage. We ran into the hospital. We were running through and we were hitting the dab pin and you were offering it to Joe. And I don't think he hit it, but like you were trying to get him to hit it. And I was like, oh my God. Dude, and fucking, so there's a nurse, there's like a certain part where like there's a door to go through and we open it up and there's a nurse there and like, I'm like, oh shit, how you doing? And Joe's like, don't fucking swear in front of a lady, bro. And I'm just like, you have the wherewithal to say that, but you don't have the wherewithal to not pass out in front of a fucking McDonald's? And I was just like, whatever. Dude, we sprinted through there and we broke Joe free of that fucking hospital. And we drive back home. And I'm like, oh, dude, the next day Joe is going to fucking be thanking the fuck out of me and you. Like, he definitely fucking is going to feel super grateful and just didn't say anything. And I guess I found out later on that he just doesn't want to know.
Yeah, he did. He texted me the next day. He's like, how did we all get home? And I said, Joe, like, you were in the hospital last night. You got taken by the cops. Like, we had to take your car. And he was like, what?
You fucking what?
And then I tried to tell him about it the next day. He's like, don't tell me. I don't want to know. Here's the thing where whenever he does something like super outrageous, he just doesn't want to know. He's like, no, that's not my problem. That was drunk me. It doesn't matter. And then I got to tell a story about when he tried to get ran over.
Please, I was going to ask you if you could please tell me that one. Start to finish. It's Super Bowl night. Start from there. It's the night of the Super Bowl.
I wasn't there for this, but my friend Chambo, who's also a legend, was there, and he was working at the time, like waking up at 4:00 to go to work. So he's like, yeah, we can watch the beginning part. He told Joe, he was like, we can watch the beginning part of the Super Bowl, but I have to go at around 9:30 because I got to go to bed and wake up early tomorrow. So I'm just letting you know that. And Joe's like, okay, that's fine. And they go. And as soon as he gets there, Chambo said he started slamming shots. In
Joe fashion.
Yeah, he's like, I'm not going to pick you up if you need a ride. Like, I'm leaving at this time. And then the time comes, he's like, hey, I'm leaving, Joe. And Joe's like, okay, just leave me. I'll have Katie pick me up. Mind you, Katie doesn't even like this stuff. Like, they're not even friends like that. They don't even really talk. So he's like, yeah, Katie will pick me up.
So this is just like
yeah.
not a friend, but this is an acquaintance, like literally on the level of like if I would text like, oh, I'll just text Dyke Annalise and have her come pick me up. Like just literally someone that I know.
They were roommates though. They just didn't like each other.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so Chambo gets home and he tells Katie, he's like, hey, he's gonna ask you for a ride, so I'm just letting you know. And she's like, I'm not fucking picking him up. Like, I don't even talk to him. Like, I'm not. And then Chambo's like, all right, neither am I. Chambo turns off his phone, locks the door. So then, like, around 1 o'clock, Chambo hears banging on his door, like banging on his door. Katie's like, oh, God, the police are outside. And
wait, Katie's British?
Yeah, she's Welsh.
Oh, that's sick. I didn't even know that.
She's Welsh. She's like, the police are outside, Jack. They got Joe. He was just like, for fuck's sake. So Chambo goes outside to go check on what's going on. Apparently, Joe went to our old apartment where I used to live. Instead of going to their new apartment, he went to our old apartment, and he was trying to kick the door down because he thought people locked it out.
Dickhead.
Now, point, it's just a bunch of softball girls that live there, like a bunch of like small soccer girls that live there, and he's literally like kicking the fuck out of the door. Oh, dickhead, let me in.
Because he thinks that it's like you guys there, and usually whenever we get back, we're still awake for a while. Like we would be like drinking and chilling. So he's sitting there, let me in, kicking the fucking door, thinking you guys are literally just not letting him in.
He was literally kicking. He wasn't just punching. He wasn't just hitting it with his hand. He was full on like.
Oh my God!
And obviously, the police get called. The police get him. I don't know how he doesn't get charged. Mind you, he would have already gotten deported at this point had he gotten charged. And they take him in. Oh, also, Chambo said he was covered in like mud and blood. Mud all over and blood all over him. So he finally gets taken into the house, and instead of going straight to sleep, he starts cooking ramen. And like, what the fuck are you doing? Just go to sleep. Like, why are you sleep? Like, why are you trying to cook? He's like, I'm fucking hungry. And he's all sitting on the carpet, sitting all over the carpet while he's doing this.
Wait, you said he's spitting all over the carpet?
Yes.
Like in his own apartment? He's just...
Yes. Like,
oh my God. I see why Katie didn't like him that much.
Yeah.
But he's cooking the ramen and what happens?
So he couldn't, like, I think he tried cooking it without putting water in it. In a plastic bowl. He's done that before, too. This is like the fourth time he's done that. He did that with Renee when he used to live with Renee, which is another guy who used to be on the team. And that's why Renee moved out. Renee's like, I don't want to get my house burned down. And he did that before. And so Katie's like, all right, fuck it, I'm going to be your mother. And she ended up making him the ramen. And that kind of story where he like, yeah, he blacked out, ended up eating ramen, whatever, that story's over. But then they went to that same bar like 2 weeks later, and these random rednecks come up to him, and they're like, hey, it's you. You remember us? And he's just like, no, don't tell me. I don't want to know.
Because whenever, hold up, I have to explain it real quick. Whenever anybody comes up to Joe and he doesn't remember them, and they're like, hey, it's you. The amount of dumb shit that he does, he knows it's going to be a bad story. So immediately he deflects and don't tell me. I don't want to know.
Oh, yeah. So he like doesn't want to hear it, but they're like, no, bro, you got to hear this. You got to hear this shit. They were like, we found you in the middle of the street. Also, at this point, he was covered in mud and blood. Like telling people to run him over. Like he was like, "Go fucking kill me, run me over."
Hold on. Do you know what road it was on though in Thomasville?
No idea. It was probably somewhere like in downtown Thomasville because it was near the bars. And like they were like, "No, we got to help this guy." Like some good Southern folk. And they grab him and they put him in the car and he's all chill. Like he's chilling. Nothing's happening. They're about to take him home. He says he lives and then all of a sudden he just starts attacking them. Like full on attack.
Like fucking Blackout Joe. Oh yeah, I just said it. I'm gonna bleep that out that I said his last name. But also a fact of that is that he is jacked as shit and scary as fuck to look at.
He's deadlifting. 560 pounds. Like, he's strong as fuck, and he's a heavy dude. Like, that guy swinging hammers at you, you don't want to deal with that. So it's obviously they just kick him the fuck out of their truck or whatever. They probably drove a truck.
They're amazing though. They were just literally in a phone booth with that man, and he's throwing bombs, I imagine, and they stopped the car without crashing and fucking got him out.
Yeah, and they ended up just leaving him there, and somehow I don't know how the fuck he ended up back home to be able to try and kick those poor softball girls' doors down.
Dude, I'm so shocked that the cops didn't think that he was trying to murder them. Like, if he's covered in, like, blood and mud, then, like, they see him, like, fucking out a door. Let me in. Oh, dickheads. Just fucking trying to bang his way in there. I'm so shocked that they let him out of that. And
Those girls, man.
dude, even if it was me, like, because literally, like, let me tell you, the reason this story scares me so much is because whenever I would DD, we would come back to your place, I would get fucked up and high, and then I would fall asleep on the couch. And so that could have very easily been me there in the living room hearing Joe kick the door. Oh, dickhead, let me in. And I would have been scared for my life, because the thing is like, he's not a mean guy. Like, when he's sober, he's a very thoughtful, very intelligent individual. Insanely intelligent. Like, scary smart, considering how he is whenever he's not sober. But, like, whenever he's blackout, it's like an animal. It's like a grizzly bear that's like, someone's like, oh, dude, no, like, I tamed it. And, like, you're looking at that thing, and you're like, I'm not getting near that. Don't even get, like, no. I know that there's a good chance that it's going to turn violent. And, like, after hearing a story like that, he had started attacking those dudes. I would be scared that he would have stuck me in the face as soon as I opened the door.
That's the thing, dude. And there's so many stories like this. Like, I could literally go on for like 5. We could have like a multi-part series of just Joe stories, man. Like, dude, so many times.
Could we do the one where Josh Barrett found whenever they were going to get the new Call of Duty and found him in Tallahassee?
Oh, dude, yeah, I guess that's. So we lived in Thomasville, which is like a small town, and they didn't have Call of Duty when it came out immediately. So some of the boys, Josh and this guy Joao, they both went down to Tallahassee to go, which is about 30, 45 minutes away, to go get the game. And while they're down there, it's a Friday night or a Saturday night, either one. And they're thinking like, oh, it's probably going to be pretty lit downtown. Like, you guys want to go check it out real quick? And they're like, yeah, sure, let's go check it out. And they drive downtown. Obviously, there's a lot of people down there, a lot of college students. Everyone's getting drunk. And they look to their right, and they see this dude sleeping face down in a ditch. And they're like, fuck, that guy in that ditch. Fucking idiot. And they get closer, and they're like, he kind of looks like Joe, doesn't he? And he's like, yeah, he does. Holy shit. And they get closer, and they're like, holy shit.
They're like, that's Joe's tattoos.
That's them. So they ended up having to pick his ass up out of the ditch, like face down in a ditch, bro, like completely unconscious in a ditch. And it's like 11 p.m.
That's like the cartoon version of like a drunk person is being, you're like, oh, if you're an alcoholic, you're going to start passing out and waking up in a ditch. Like, that's real life activities for Joe. But like, they find him and they get him in the car.
Yeah, they find him, they get him in the car, and they take him home. But I mean, that's kind of that story. There was another one. I was with him when he actually got his first like charge.
what was the charge?
So we went to this place called Potbelly's, which is in Tallahassee, pretty fun spot. And we parked about like 2-3 minutes down the road. And we were talking to some I think some frat dudes, and they invited us over to go to a party at their place after Pots. And we're like, yeah, we should just walk there. Like, our car's safe where it's at. Let's just walk there. We're good. And Joe's like, nah, mate, we'll draw. We'll draw. So Jim was like, nah, let's just walk. Like, why risk it? And he's like, nah, we'll just drive there, and then we don't have to walk back.
It'll be sound.
Which didn't make any sense. It was about like 2 minutes down the road. We could have easily just walked back.
Wait, like a 2-minute walk or like a 2-minute drive? That would have been like a 10-minute. I mean, that's still like a 5-10 minute walk at most.
Yeah, you know how by Potts all those frat houses are right next to it? It's literally one of those spots.
Oh.
One of those. Yeah. So we're parked down the street from Potts, which is right next to that. And So the car that so he volunteers to drive. None of us want to drive, and it's me, my old roommate Lee, Lee's cousin from England came to visit, and Lee's brother from England came to visit, and Jack was with us, and also me. So that's the squad, and Joe ends up driving us, and as soon as we leave the parking lot, he goes down the wrong way.
Oh my God! No!
Left, and it's a one-way to the right. And as soon as he turns left, you just see 3 lights go off. Beep, beep.
Oh my God!
Cops, they pull us over, and he obviously.
Wait, hold on. What level of blackout is Joe? Because I know it can't be like full blackout level Joe, because there's no way that you would have let full blackout level Joe convince you to get in the car with him driving. So like, how deep was he?
He was definitely past it. Like
yeah.
Like how he wasn't like bloody kicking the door down blackout, but he was probably close to it. The only reason I was okay with it was because it was like only 2 minutes on the road. You know, I was like,
oh, yeah, be fine. It's like there's you're literally thinking the only way you could fuck it up is how he did. My bad.
And Shane was telling him like, make me turn right here. Immediately turns left, goes the wrong way. And the cops pull him over. Obviously, they're like, "Have you been drinking?" And he's like, "No."
No, I haven't been drinking.
He passes the physical sobriety test. He passes it, like the ones we have to like walk in a line. Like he passes it, and they're like, "Okay, go ahead and give you this
breathalyzer."
Yeah, which he shouldn't have taken. He should have just.
You could be like, "No, dude, I just passed my test. What do you want?"
Yeah, I mean, you're still going to get a DUI for using it, but they're not going to be like you were 3 times over the limit. You know, they can't stack that on you. But he didn't know. He did it anyway. And then they were like, "Oh, okay. We have one more test for you, sir. Put your hands behind your back." And
no, they said that.
Yeah, they're like, "We got one more test for you, man." And then tossed him. So they're after they put him in the cop car, they're trying to put. This all is coming back to me now. Lee's brother is completely blackout because he slammed a Four Loko. Like he's from England. He's never had a Four Loko before, so he chugs a Four Loko and slams shots because shots are like $1. He's like, "What the fuck? Normally shots are like $12 back home."
Yeah, back home.
And I'm like helping him. Like this is Lee's brother is giant. He's like 6'5", a huge guy, prison guard. And I'm like holding him on my shoulder, trying to like help him back to the car before he got arrested. So when we get to the car, he's obviously like knocked out in the back seat. And then the cops see him and they're like, "Was he all right? Like, we're going to have to call an ambulance for him." And they're trying to put him in an ambulance. There's actually an ambulance that shows up as well. And they're trying to put him in an ambulance. And Lee's like, "You're not going to put him in an ambulance. Like, you're not doing that. Like, we're not paying for that shit. He's visiting. He's fine. He's just drunk. Like, we're not putting him in an ambulance."
Wait, but do that in the Lee voice though.
"You don't take him in an ambulance."
Oh my God.
They were trying to take him in an ambulance. They didn't end up doing it because he actually was able to converse with them. It's pretty fucked up though. It's like, damn, they're gonna force him. Like, here's $3,000 you got to pay for.
Oh no, not 3,000. Depending on how far the hospital is away, it's gonna be more along the lines of like 7,000 to 10,000. 3,000 would be a nice deal on an ambulance.
Yeah, but we ended up not having to take him, but they were like, "Hey, so all of you are clearly pretty drunk, so make sure you don't drive." And they waited for a minute, and they're like, "Well, we can't wait here all night, so just don't have someone come pick you up. Don't drive." And I'm thinking like they're probably waiting around the corner to see our car just drive out of there. And Lee's like, "Yeah, we just got to go." I think we were in Gabe's car too, by the way.
The white Avenger.
He didn't have this wagon, dude, fat Durango, and so we ended up. They ended up leaving. Me and Chambo were like, "No, we're gonna fucking go out still." Like me and Chambo, just us two, and we ended up staying, and they ended up going back because Lee's like, "I gotta take my brother home. He's fucked. Like we're just gonna head back." And I stayed behind with Chambo, and we walked from Potts to Recess, which is literally
that's That's a bit of a fucking walk. That's going all the way down the main road. God damn. You had to go you literally went all the way through FSU.
Yeah, we literally we had fun though. We were like talking to people along the way, like, cause other people were doing the same thing, just walking. It was a fun time. And like we ended up going to recess, and I saw my old like childhood referee there, and he was destroyed, dude. And we saw some of our friends, and it ended up being a pretty fun night. But yeah, that was the day that Joe's life like forever changed.
God damn, dude. Fucking, I want to get into a Chambo story, but real quick, during your entire time of playing soccer when you were young, did you ever have one referee that you were like, oh fuck, if this guy shows up, I'm definitely gonna have issues?
Oh yeah. There was one guy who like said to me, he was literally, because I said to him, I was like, every time you mess something up, I said that.
Wait, during the game?
During the game, because he disallowed 2 goals, and then they scored a goal that was offside, so we ended up losing, and it was a pretty big game. And I said to him, I was like, why do you mess things up every time you rep with us? And he's like, I'm gonna remember. It's just old white. He's like, I'm gonna remember when you said that next time I rep you guys. And I'm just like, oh, so you're just gonna admit that you're gonna be biased again? But yeah, I did. Oh, you want a Chambo story?
Dude, hold up. We got to explain the entity of Chambo real quick. Chambo has killed the most amazing bitches in Tallahassee. And you might be thinking right now, like imagining what Chambo looks like a 6'5" jack dude that's fucking beautiful face. Not really. He's an average looking dude, but he has a British accent. And sometimes that British accent most of the times that British accent is enough to get him into some nice pussy. One of the stories that you told me was, I would fuck you through walls, love. Could you tell me that one?
So the thing is, he's British, but he's also very confident, and he doesn't have a disgusting British accent. He doesn't have like he doesn't have like a he doesn't not like a Scouser or something. You know, like he's got a pretty cool British accent. And he has a super deep voice. It doesn't make sense. Like he's 160 pounds, and he's got this deep ass, manly ass voice. But yeah, so I remember I was telling him, I was like, dude, you can literally say whatever you want to girls, and they won't care because they're just going to be fascinated by your accent. Mind you, these are like 18 to 23-year-old girls, like absolute dumbasses that go to Florida State that I've never seen in person out of their hometown of like in like Mississippi or something. Like these are pretty stupid fucking girls. But anyway, Chambo was like literally walking up to these girls and saying, I would fuck you through the walls, love. Instead of being like shocked and like offended, they were, oh my god, are you British?
Oh my god!
Have you ever kissed a British lad before? And they'd be like, no, and then they would just start making out. Like I kid you not, that happened 2 or 3 times in one night. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, if I tried that, I'd get maced,
dude.
Straight up.
I would be next to Joe in handcuffs. Did they get you with the one last test too? That's one Chambo story. Dude, I can't even think of what is the most legendary Chambo story that you know about. That's a very stupid and hard question to ask, but can you try to remember the best one that you can remember?
Now that you're putting me on the spot, like it's hard to remember now.
Has he ever gotten a fight in a bar or in a club?
No, he's pretty level-headed when it comes to that kind of stuff. Like he tends to avoid the situations.
Chambo's also a boxer, so he could fuck up a lot of people, like normal people in Tallahassee, if they were just like, or not a boxer as in he actively does it, but he did boxing. And like,
yeah, he boxed sparring. Like he knows how to fight.
I mean, like if Josh Rycord got his hands on him, I don't know what I could say for him, but against like a normal person that's not a trained killer, he would have a lot of trouble.
Why are you messing with my man Josh like that?
What are you talking about? I love Josh. But, I mean, like, Josh versus Chambo would be a good fight.
You got to see Jon Jones versus Josh.
Dude, I have seen Jon Jones versus Josh. I've seen Jon Jones showed that to me like the 6th day I met him. He was, oh, bro, like, I mean, bro, you want to see this shit though? Dude, that was so funny. You know how that fight started?
Yeah, I do know. It was like he was just messing with
Josh
him.
Was just,
like, we gotta.
He pushed him down like 4 times, and Jon Jones was like, bro, if you do that one more time, we're going to have to go outside. And he did it, and then fucking they went outside. Did they get in any trouble for that with a team?
No, they didn't. Apparently, like I saw the video, Josh actually cracked him one good time and broke his nose, and like Josh held on to that. Like, yeah, but I broke his nose.
I saw the
But
picture.
like, Jon Jon hit him with like 8, 9, like 10 punches in a row, and Jon Jon doesn't like train like that, but Jon Jon's a pretty athletic dude, and he can scrap.
Dude, Jon Jon looks like he seems like he can fight. Like I've seen him I've seen him slap box. Like, well, no, I don't know why I put air quotes on slap box, but I've seen him slap box like versus like Taylor twice. And like Taylor's a goofy dude, but he fucked Taylor up. And I was like, dude, Jon Jon will probably work my shit if we got in a fight.
Yeah, he's pretty fast too. He's pretty fast and he's strong. And he's country. He's a country boy. That's another thing. He tries that. He's like light skinned, this, and I'm like, man.
Dude,
I see the picture of you in full camo with deers on you. You're country as fuck.
with the blood on his face. Can you tell the story about when Jon Jon picked up the dead bird? He's like,
Oh my god! Yeah. So we're playing soccer with the team, and another character. His name is Gabble. I think he was trying to ping a ball to the far side of the field, and he like hit this bird in midair, like killed this bird. This bird was motionless on the floor, and like everyone's like, "Oh, it's a dead bird!" Like someone get a broom or like a dustpan so we can pick it up. Jon Jon just picks it up, like full on palms it, and just eats it into the woods. Like, what's wrong, bro? Like, it's the problem.
Jon Jon, did you just pick up the fucking dead bird up? I mean, bruh. Like, what? Dude, that was Jamal used to say that shit too. Dude. Oh my god, Jamal, another character. We got to do another episode too. But real quick, my favorite Jamal story. Me and Jamal went to Helmus's house, and Helmus was this like Spanish. I think he was like Spanish. I don't know what he was, but he definitely spoke Spanish.
Cuban dude from Miami.
Yeah. Okay. So he's a Miami nigga. I thought he was literally like from Spain. But
No.
Helmus had this bong that was like literally up to my like up to the waist. Like if you're standing up. Yeah. And so like fucking me and Jamal went over to Helmus's house to smoke one time, and like I knew Helmus. We were on the same team, but like I didn't like know him like that. And in Thomasville, you had to be worried about who you brought weed up to because you didn't want to get in trouble. I mean, not me as much because like I wasn't on the actual athletic scholarship, so they couldn't take anything away. But still, I was careful with it. But Jamal was like, let's go smoke with Helmus. We hit his bong, and, well, I hit his bong. Jamal, like, if this cup is the bong, Jamal hit the smoke from, like, here to, like, here, and, like, 2 hits and was dying. That shit was so funny. And then we were driving home, and you know that road, like, if you were going back to Pine Tree from Whataburger, like that long road that's, like, there's 2 lanes on one side and then there's 2 lanes the other side coming into town. Well, yeah. Me and Jamal were going down like obviously the 2 lanes on the right, and I was pretty high, and a dude came like flying down like the left lane of the road we were in and went like fucking 70 and like going the wrong direction into Thomasville and almost fucking hit us. And I was like, Jamal, did you see that? And he was like, this is Jamal.
Bro, when he smokes, it's like he's off 5 Xannies, bro.
I don't get it. Like, we would be at your crib, like, after a night out, and I don't remember if he would come over after nights out as much, but Jamal would be over sometimes, and he would be fucked up, and, like, we would smoke. Even if he wasn't off of alcohol, if he would just smoke, you would see him, like, asleep, sitting up, just... And he could just sleep anywhere. Huh?
I stacked the whole apartment on him that one time.
You did? You just took all your couch cushions and put them on top of them?
Everything. I put like a pack of cigarettes. I put Yeezys on them. I put controllers on them. One time he spat in my rice cooker. That was when I wanted to literally murder him.
Dude, what is up with people at Thomas University and spitting indoors? Like, if you're going to I mean, okay, so I could see maybe if like the sink is full, like you're like, oh, I can't spit in the sink. But then you're like, okay, next place is like, all right, I'll go to the bathroom sink. Or if that's filled up, the toilet. It's just like the rice cooker is like, that's not even an option. It's like, okay, worst case scenario. I have to spit, nothing's open. I guess I'll just walk outside and spit on the fucking, I literally don't even know if I would have spit on the deck outside the front of your door. I would have probably fucking walked over to the side and spit out onto the sidewalk. But Jamal is just like, oh, he's just here. And it's not even like a malicious thing. I think he's literally just unaware.
Oh, I mean, I don't know. It was like, maybe he thought it was like target or something, and you hear him spit in it because there's a fat loogie in the middle of my rice cooker. And I saw it the day after, so it had been there.
Did you think it was Joe?
No, I knew it was Jamal immediately. I knew it was Yuri came over, Cav came over, and I knew none of them.
You're like, it definitely wasn't Yuri. Yuri absolutely would have been the last person to do that, even behind me. Cav, I don't think he would have done it. But after that picture that Gabe showed us, what did Chambo say about that?
I don't know. I didn't even follow up with him. I'm going to ask him about that. I was like, did you see who actually did it? Like, the mystery was, by the way, we have less than a minute.
All right, we got to wrap this one up, but fucking, this is a good-ass one. Dude, you got to get Chambo and have him come on, because it would be so much funnier if we could have a three-way with me, you, and Chambo.
For real, that would be sick.
Fuck yeah, dude. I appreciate it, dude. Later.